All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm just checking the room here. I can see that attendees are slowly starting to come in. Araba, Donna Mulder, Elizabeth, Jacqueline, Jordan. Hello, welcome, everybody. Thanks again for joining us here at AIDC 25, the Accessible and Inclusive Design Conference. It's really interesting. Over the last 3 days, I think we've gotten about 100 registrants per day. So that's quite a few people. I mean, I haven't checked yet, but I think we have over 600 people registered. So that means that there are a lot of folks out there in L&D that feel like this topic is important. And I know that TLDC has thought that for a long time. Shout out to Kayleen Holt of Scissortail Creative, who helped build the first one of these conferences. So thanks to her for coming up with the idea. And I'm glad that we're here on our fourth one. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and just get started and introduce you to our next speaker, Donna Boucher. Donna is an autism ADHD instructional designer and an education consultant specializing in diversity and inclusion, digital accessibility, and certification design. With over 30 years of teaching experience and 10 years in instructional design, she works with clients to create accessible and effective training solutions. Donna is going to be talking about Beyond Aesthetics, Designing with Color for Accessibility and Inclusion. This is not the first time that Donna has presented with TLDC. So Donna, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I'm going to hide myself from the screen and let you take it away.
Thanks so much, Lewis. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm happy to be here today to share some cool information with you. You want to throw into the chat on a scale of 1 to 5, how easily can you read this presentation slide that I've thrown up on the screen here? Yeah, thanks, Carolyn, Mary. Here they come in, ones and twos, lots of ones and twos. Oh, we got a 3. Oh, a 5. Hey, you must have perfect vision. Awesome. All right. So how about this one? Let's try another one. Uh, how's this one for everyone? Oh, 5 is good and 1 is bad. Apologies for that. Yeah, 5 is good, 1 is bad. So how about this one? How comfortable are you? I love that emoji. It is painful. Absolutely. It hurt to make it, to be honest. So, okay, how about I put you all out of your misery and I give you the actual slide? Here we go. How's that one? We good with this one? Awesome. I see all these 5s. Much better. 5 plus. Amazing. All right. So this is what we're going to talk about today. Lewis introduced me, so I don't have too much else to say, but I'm going to go ahead anyways. My name is Donna Boucher. I'm a digital accessibility consultant. My pronouns are she or her. I'm wearing glasses. I'm wearing my heavy blue lights today. My hair is tied up in a bun and I'm wearing my gray shirt with my white headphones. Let's see here. So I am autistic, ADHD, and I have photophobia, which has been getting worse as I've been getting older. And of course, I'm not getting any younger. So I will quite often wear what I call my old lady glasses so that I can see the small print. I've resorted to writing numbers on the back of my credit cards so that they're bigger, so that I can see them. So lots of different ways that I'm coping now with the changes in my vision. The photo that you're looking at is actually a picture of the majority of the glasses that I own. I found an optometrist who is neurodiverse friendly and quite knowledgeable. I explained to her that I couldn't wear progressive lenses. When I asked my previous optometrist about bifocals, they kind of scoffed at me. They were like, oh, you're too young for wearing such outdated glasses. But actually, it turns out that my brain needs that line to be able to switch. And when my optometrist discovered the photophobia, she suggested a double coating. So my prescription lenses have a double coating on them. They've got computer glass, nighttime coating and like a heavy blue light on them. It makes them kind of a brown color, similar to the ones that I'm wearing now. These are sort of the glasses that I would wear if I'm having more of a difficult day with my eyes, and these ones are my favorite glasses, which I wear on normal days. So there's a little information about my lived experience with the disability, and yeah, so let's get going. So the impact of inaccessible color use. So it's excluding millions of users from understanding, engaging, and trusting content. So let's have a look at these numbers here. So approximately 15 to 20% of the Canadian population is estimated to have dyslexia. That's according to Dyslexia Canada. Canadian Association of Optometrists thinks that there's 2.6 million Canadians, or 6% of the population, that's colorblind. More specifically, it's 1 in 12 men and 1 in 200 women, so more common in men. It's estimated that 20% of the population is considered neurodivergent, but I think we know that that number is really underestimated due to the lack of diagnosis and lack of reporting. So we're probably looking at a higher number there. And then let's talk about the fact that in 2030, almost 25% of our population is going to be age 65 or older. And they also have their needs for vision and color and things like that. So really important statistics. And what this means is that every time we design a website, publish a flyer, share a video on social media, the way we present that information can be the difference between someone feeling completely included or completely excluded. So here's an example. I was at a restaurant last weekend and I couldn't read the menu. They totally cheaped out and wanted to print it on one page. So the font was really small. It was poor contrast. It was like the first slide that I showed you. So am I going to go back to that restaurant? Probably not. They've lost my business. And then any of my friends and family that I tell about that experience, they might not go back there either. On LinkedIn, I keep seeing all these cool posts and people are like, hey, look at this image below. Isn't this amazing? And it's got really great information on it, but I can't read it. And there's no image description, so I can't interact with it. So I can look at all these comments about how amazing it is, but I have no idea what anybody's talking about. So I'm not really going to be following that person to watch their posts because I can't interact with them. So there's an exclusion happening there. And it's not just my experiences, as we can see by these numbers, we're looking at millions, right? And we're losing out because the estimated annual spending power of people with disabilities in Canada is over $55 billion. And if you add their friends and family to this, who are going to prioritize accessible businesses as well, we're looking at over $100 billion. That number is huge, $100 billion. So this is really important if you're looking at e-learning, print advertising, websites, marketing of any kind, social media, you have it. So let's have a look at this more closely. So I want to sort of delve into the different types of color vision deficiencies. I'm going to be looking at two main ones today. It's essential to understand them to be able to think about it when you're designing. So here is something, someone with normal color vision would see a pie graph with blue, green, teal for the big part, pink, yellow. There's a button with red type down below. And then, of course, I've got that traffic light up at the top. All these people that love to use traffic light colors on their charts and things like that. So this is like commonly found images and concepts in a basic color scheme. So we're going to have a look what that looks like to someone who is colorblind. So here you could see the normal image on the left, and on the right you could see someone who is green blind due to anopia. They would see it as like purples and browns, yellows and beiges, things like that. There's no green. You can't see any green on there. And then we've got the red blind at the bottom, which again, there's no red, right? It's completely gone. So let's have a look here. So have a look at the charts, and I want you to answer these questions for me. Let's see if I can do this right. Here we go. it's a red light and you need to stop your car or you will crash. Which one of these is red? Anybody know? You can type it in the chat if you know. If you drive and you remember where they are, you might know where they are. Yep, the top. Or always on the left. You know what? That's a really good point, because when I'm driving, I live near Toronto. So when I'm driving in Canada, our traffic lights are mostly vertical with red on top. But I know if I drive some places in the US, or, I've been over to Europe a few times. So the lights are different there. So if I couldn't see the red, I would have to learn where the red is as opposed to just seeing it. You want to order this really cool thingamajig that you've always wanted. And to do that, you got to press the red button. Where's the red button? There is no red button. So how are you going to know where to push? Unless it said, press the red button that says purchase or add to cart, right? So we need that text piece with it. The red and green slices of the pie chart indicate something really important that your manager has asked you to report on. And you're looking at this chart and you're thinking, where the heck are the red and the green slices? I don't understand. So you can see how easily it can get confusing if you're not able to see colors. And the next slide is actually going to show you if you can't see any color. This is a rare form. Let's see. This is a rare form of color blindness where a person cannot see any colors. They see the world in black and white, shades of gray. This is a daily reality for people that have this disability, and it completely removes color from their visual experience. So we have to be careful when we're designing that we're not excluding someone from interacting with what we're creating. So if you're designing for someone with a color vision deficiency, you want to make sure that you're using a good contrast, because that good contrast is going to transfer into something that they'll be able to see better. So if all of your shades are similar, when they look at it, they may not see the differences in the shades. So it's good to keep that contrast good for them. Avoid relying on color only. We talked about that. Add an icon, a little play button, a little triangle, or add the word play. There's lots of ways for you to convey meaning without just using color. Choose colorblind friendly palettes. Palettes that are distinguishable for most types of color deficiencies. So blues and oranges, purples and yellows, teals and pinks. There's tools that you can use. We're actually going to look at some tools later that will show you how colors appear to users who have color vision deficiencies. Test it with simulators. That's related to the simulator that I'm going to show you soon. And that will actually show you what your image looks like. Another trick if you're working in PowerPoint is view it in grayscale. That's an option in the view button. So if you view it in grayscale, it'll show you the contrast. And if you can't make out the different pieces of contrast on your image, then you should probably go back and change it. Make sure that you're using descriptive text for your diagrams and charts, even on social media, so that if someone can't read the image, they can at least read what the image is showing. And make sure your user interface components meet WCAG requirements, so that buttons and links and form fields and that are easy to find with a screen reader if needed. So that alt text is super important, and all the other like area links and things like that. Okay, so we're gonna have a look now at photophobia. No, it is not a fear of light. Although my little Dracula image here. So photophobia is actually someone who, sorry, I lost my spot. Photophobia, I have it, I should be able to speak to it. So basically bright lights are painful. Colors that a normal person may just see as a bright color to someone like me are much more intense, and they can actually cause me pain and discomfort. sometimes my son, my 14-year-old, will bring a video over in his phone. He'll be like, look, mom, look at this video. And I'm cowering because he's got his brightness set up so high that I just can't see. And it physically hurts me. So my screens are all on the dimmest. I've got blue light protectors on. My phone brightness is down low. I have to turn it up when I got to scan QR codes and things like that. So it's just that the severity varies, but for most people with photophobia, it's the blue light and the bright colors or flashy things that actually cause us discomfort and pain. So you have no idea how many spoons it took to actually make this slide. And I'm trying very hard not to look at it. So let's get rid of these bright colors for a minute. If your design causes someone to look away or turn down their brightness immediately, it's just not accessible. It's also not something that a lot of people might think of. So it's really important to learn as much as you can about these types of disabilities so that you can include them in your designs. Let's see here. Oh, if I go grocery shopping, you'll see me wearing my heavy dark sunglasses. I call it neurodivergent grocery shopping because I just throw my earbuds in, throw on some good tunes, and I'm alone in the grocery store. So that's my trick for that one. I see some questions. I'm just gonna check the chat here before I keep going. Has the flat design and design minimalism early proved helpful in accessibility? Karen, do you mind explaining a little bit more about that flat design and design minimalism trends? Have a mechanism for feedback. Yes, Ania, yes, absolutely. Finite color change. Yeah, I'm still not sure, Karen. Very structured blocks of color. I am a minimalist in my design work. I don't know if you can tell from my slides and stuff. My backgrounds are not white. They're like a shade of gray. I don't use a ton of colors. I try to stick to one type of color. So I I think I'm doing cool. I'll get back to you. Okay, let's keep going. All right, so if you're designing for photophobia, use soft muted colors with gentle contrast. I know that our WCAG requirements say to make sure you have adequate contrast. It doesn't mean you have to have ultimate contrast. And I'm actually going to show you a little bit later on some different contrasts and how, even though they might pass, they don't actually pass a user test. So avoid pure white backgrounds. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but the background on my screen, on my presentation, is like a light gray. And then my heading has got the white background on it. So it's just easier to look at. And honestly, if you're on your computer for 8 hours a day and you don't have a vision deficiency, it's still easier for you. Flat design means no ridges. Oh, yes. Honestly, I hate it when I get these buttons and there's like shadows and all of these different lines and contrast and everything is just too much. So flat design is my friend now that I kind of understand it a little bit. Um, yeah, drop shadows, embossing. I don't use any of that stuff. If I do, it's a manual. I create a manual depth by layering things. You'll see it on my next slide, actually, that it's a clear definition of a layering. So it's not kind of playing tricks on the eyes. I love flat design. I use it for everything. Now that I know what you're, now I know what it's called, flat design. Gentle contrast, not extreme. We talked about that one. Provide text alternatives. We've also talked about that one. Super important so that if someone can't perceive that image, they can still read about it. Offer a dark gray or low stim mode. I know that a lot of us are using dark mode on our computers. Some dark modes actually are opposite to too much white. So they're black with white text and it's just too much. It's really nice when the dark mode is actually like a dark gray and the text is like a light gray. it just softens the contrast there. Minimal motion alerts or high contrast flickers. So I don't know if you've seen presentations where things are flying in all over the place and bouncing and showing up with these bright colors. Oh my gosh, I just can't. So if you're going to use animations and things like that, make them softer so that they're kind of fading in or floating in. Don't make them so flashy, and they'll be easier for the majority of users. Again, even normal, average, non-disabled people will be able to watch their screens for longer with these types of things. Okay, let's see here. So this is my layering effect that I like to do. You see it on the edges here. It creates depth without tricking the eyes, basically. It's very simple, and you'll see it on my quote slide as well. I do it with like I make the shadow. I don't let the PowerPoint make the shadow. So let's have a look at some tools and takeaways. This is the Web Aim Contrast Checker. I have a document, a Word document link I'm going to send you all at the end. It's got all of these links, and it's got a summary of all the tips for you as well. So don't panic if you don't have it. I'm going to throw the link for this one into the chat in case anyone wants to go see it now while I'm presenting. There we go. So you can see here, I did a box, white text on dark blue background and black text on muted blue background. You can see that it's not passing any of the contrast ratios, and this one is passing all of them. Let's have a look at the next screen. If you have photophobia, shield your eyes. Here we go. Oh, and I forgot to change my text. So it says red background with white text, but it's actually dark blue background with white text. And then I have bright blue purple background with white text on this one. Apologies for the error. You can see that both of these meet contrast requirements. They both pass. They pass all of them. But if you're going to be staring at your screen for 8 hours a day, or if you have photophobia, the one on the left with the muted blue background is a better choice. Not going to tire the eyes out as quickly. And it's good to remember that just because you pass the contrast guidelines does not mean it's fully accessible. You got to check with people that have disabilities and get them to test out what you're sending out. Nothing replaces a good user testing. So how can you make your color palettes more accessible? There's a really cool tool. I actually found this when I was doing my crochet and I needed to choose colors. And I would use this tool to help me choose my colors for my blankets and stuff. Who knew that this is actually this amazing tool that we can use to choose accessible color palettes? So again, I'm going to throw the link into the chat here. This is one of my favorite toys. There we go. So use a space bar and it will change these colors for you, and it'll give you new ones. You can lock the ones that you like so that it keeps those. And it has a button on each of these colors that will let you check the contrast. So you can see that this color, this muted red color here, is actually fully accessible regardless of whether you're using white text or black text. So that's really cool. The other thing you can do is, it's really tiny, but there's this little eyeglasses icon at the top. And if you select that icon, it gives you the option to select all of these different vision deficiencies to see what your color palette will look like to that person. So you can see here that my color palette is actually really accessible because what I chose as green or red or pink is actually showing up pretty close. And when I clicked on all of the different types, the color palette stayed similar. So there were faint changes to it, but I happened to come across a color palette that's super accessible for all types of users. Okay, so let's see here. This is COBLIS. It's short for Color Blindness Simulator. It's a really cool site. You can upload your images and then you can click on these buttons here and it will show you what it looks like to people who have different deficiencies. So this is the standard image on the site. Oh, I forgot to hit send. There you go. There's the link if you guys want to go in and play. But it shows you through a different lens. If you select normal lens, on here, a little circle will show up and it'll show you what it looks like to a normal viewer without a color deficiency right next to what it looks like for that person that might have one of those deficiencies. It's a really cool tool. It doesn't upload your images to any database or anything like that. It's completely isolated. So if you're concerned about any of that, really, really helpful to experience what someone else is experiencing because you really just don't know until you walk a mile in someone's shoes. So there you have it, color blindness simulator. Okay, this is not so much for design, but if you happen to have photophobia, I want to share this with you. The TD accessibility adapter is what makes the internet accessible for me. So I have my own profile set up. It's a plugin for Chrome. Put the link in the chat for you. It's a super long link, but you should be able to click on it so that it'll just go straight there. So I have my own profile set up and there's all types of profiles. There's ADHD, there's vision. There's just a ton of them. I can't even list them. So I have mine set to low saturation for low vision. So when I got onto a website, I work with the Red Cross. Their website is just so painful for me because their brand color is bright red. I cannot. So my TD accessibility adapter, oh my gosh, lifesaver. I just throw that on and that bright, crazy red is now softened and muted so that I can read the website. So this is a really, really great tool for anybody that doesn't want to look at all of those bright colors or can't. Okay, and finally, let's get to the nitty gritty here. You can use all of these testing tools and all of these things, but you cannot replace real user testing. Only real users can show you what's confusing, uncomfortable, or unusable in practice. As we saw, I passed the contrast guidelines, but it wasn't comfortable and it wasn't necessarily accessible to everyone. So test, please. Like if you have an ERG group at your organization or you have a group of friends, test. One of the companies that I've been working with is Fable. They do testing for big companies. I'm really impressed actually with the companies that are choosing to do disability testing. So yeah, test. I just can't enforce that any more than I just did. So yeah. Okay, so here we go. Here's the takeaway. Tiny text. I'm really sorry. I just did a screenshot of the Word document. What I've done is I've thrown it into my OneDrive so that anyone can download it. So I'm going to put that link again in the chat here. It's got all four of the links that I threw in the chat. Plus, I've summarized each of those design tips that we talked about so that you have that list if you're working and you want to refer back to it. So I hope that this has been helpful. I hope that it has shown you some new tools and some new things to think about. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. And I'm open if you have any questions.
Great stuff. So many resources. Just looking
Yeah.
through, the thank yous are coming through. Very nice. Any questions, anybody? I'm going to have to, I think that with this one, I will definitely collect these links and post them. And were you going to make this slide deck available, Donna?
So I can do, yeah, I can
Okay.
do. I
Yeah,
can send it to you if you'd like, if that
because
will
I
help.
can post it and then sort of append it with some of the links that you shared because this is just great stuff.
Yeah, it's things that we just don't think about. Like I've had photophobia my whole life, but it's just been getting worse as I've been getting older. And I actually didn't even know what it was called until maybe like a year ago. I just thought I had sensitive eyes and I was sensitive to light.
Right. Do you use dark mode on your
I
computer?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I use dark mode a lot.
Does that help?
Um, it does help, unless it's like I was saying, some of the dark modes are like black and white,
Hmm.
and that's just as bad as white and black, right? Like it's no difference. But I've noticed the dark modes are starting to go to more muted grays.
Right. I know for myself at the organization I work at, we build a lot of our things in dark mode, as well as like standard, just to make sure that the dark mode looks right, because certain
Yeah,
images, like if there were, the contrast might be super high, it might be like say a white background, and so in a JPEG, but then when you put it into dark mode, it's still just that really really bright white. It doesn't get muted at all, and that can be an
yeah.
issue. So yes.
Yeah,
I'm seeing
Bridget's
Jacqueline.
saying she can't see in dark mode, and yeah, there's some people that can't. And Jacqueline, I agree with you 100%. I get into dark mode and I'm so excited, and then they've got like neon highlights and links, and I just, yeah,
Yesenia is asking, how can an individual best advocate for the application of these best practices within their organization?
that's a really, really good question. So, it takes time to gain traction, and it's best if you can find allies in leadership. If you've got ERGs, use those. If you've got DEIB or diversity and inclusion positions within the organization, use those. Set up webinars, um, lunch and learns, any type of education that you can to get out there. I have been working with, so I have like my day job, and I've been working there now 4 years. And I'm just like starting to get really good traction on digital accessibility. And people are actually starting to call me now to ask me questions. So it takes time for people to understand. And when I go into meetings and I'll be wearing my glasses and I'll ask if we can turn, because if I go into the office, those lights, I'll ask if we can turn the lights off in the meeting room. And then I will explain, I will tell everybody about my disability because I want them to understand that it's an invisible disability and I have it. And that's why I'm asking for digital accessibility. So that's kind of how I've done it at my organization.
Nice, thank you. Let's see. Caitlin is asking, I have a pet peeve when someone who uses light mode highlights in yellow, and I can't see the text in my dark mode. Anything we should keep in mind to make sure we make smart decisions when it comes to light versus dark?
Yeah, I mean, if you're designing something that has the ability to switch between light and dark, it's best to test it out in both modes. Um, Choose color palettes that will work in both modes, like that one that I showed you, where it doesn't matter if it's white or black text, you can see it regardless. So those are probably two of the best tips that I could give for that one.
Yeah, I know for us it's just test, test, test. I'm constantly switching back and forth between dark mode and regular
Yeah.
mode. I bet I'm on a Mac ecosystem. There's probably a shortcut or some type of a web app that I can use that can make it easier for me to switch back and forth. I never thought about that before, but I always just go in and manually do it. Let's see. Looking at.
Kimberly, yeah, the lights off in the office. Unfortunately, for some people, if they're working in those big open offices, it's just not possible. I only go into the office if it's like a meeting or something because I know it's in a meeting room and I can request to have the lights dimmed. So, but yeah, absolutely. Lights off in the office.
Jacqueline's asking, is there a go-to best highlight color?
Yeah. So, because we have so many different viewpoints on highlighting, so some people like to highlight because it draws your attention. So they choose all these bright crazy colors, and I call them crazy colors. I like to highlight in gray because you could still see the difference. You could still
Hmm.
see that it's highlighted. It's it's so hard to say one color because honestly, it's just so diverse out there for preferences. It's That's why I like my website, my adapter, because it doesn't matter what you design your site in, my adapter will just dim it down for me. And it's 80% effective. So um, that's the best I can give you. Sorry for the highlight colors. I use
Hmm.
gray.
Hmm. Let's see here. Yep, and Karen is referencing WCAG standards. One method of finding best design standards for accessibility. Definitely take a look there.
Yeah.
Um,
Just be
nice.
careful with the WCAG standards. They are great standards, don't get me wrong, and they're very thorough, but sometimes they don't take into effect neurodivergence,
Hmm.
traumatic brain injury, photophobia, a lot of these like invisible disabilities that people are starting to uh, be diagnosed more because there's more awareness. The WCAG might not cover those. So, like I said, although something might pass WCAG, it still might not pass for neurodivergence, traumatic brain injury, right? Any of those. So, yeah, it's good to use their test.
Interesting. Wow, Araba DeGraft Hansen has an interesting one. How do you navigate creating brand compliant designs with an established color palette that may not be accessible?
Yeah. Um, so the company I work for came out with new brand colors. I think it was last year. They're okay colors. I mean, one of them is like this funky orange, and I just can't. But luckily, it's an accent color. I still don't. I'm not. I'm not outward facing for my learning and stuff. So for my stuff, I just use muted versions of their brand colors in my presentations and things like that. Even in my e-learning that goes out to the organization, I use muted colors of the brand. So they're subtly darker. And they're just easier to look at. But if you're sending things out to like marketing and things like that, that's something that I think would have to be looked at higher up in the organization to maybe have a look at those colors to see if they could be made accessible. That's a hard one, honestly. Like
Yeah.
Red Cross, their color is red. What are we going to do with it, right?
Yeah.
That's a hard one.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Karen mentions Google and ChatGPT is great for searching for design standards that best suit more neurodivergent needs. The specificity is helpful and in paring down options. I'd love to actually see something like that, Karen. Maybe that's something you could show everybody at some point.
Yeah. That'd be really cool. I honestly, ChatGPT and Google have come a long way. I have a client whose color is orange. I don't know. I just couldn't. Honestly, my vision is so bad now that I couldn't. I laugh sometimes because I'll get my son to come. I'll send him one of my designs and say, Ben, look at it with your eyes on your screen because my screens are so dimmed and blue lighted that sometimes the colors that I've chosen might not appear the same. So I get my son to check my images sometimes.
Hmm. Yep. Excellent. All right. Any more questions, everybody? I'm just checking to see. It looks like chat is slowing down a bit. There's just the chat is always such an incredible resource for this particular event. Well, actually all the events, but this one is always very, very rich. And
Yeah.
maybe I
I
should
love
just
the chat. I love seeing all the comments.
hmm It's because it's such a generous community. Like everybody that is focused on accessibility and inclusive design, everyone is trying to share as much information as possible to be more inclusive, to help everybody. And so it's one of the reasons why I think that this event exists. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really grown. I mean, over the last 10 years, such a difference. We used to throw out PDFs and call it, call it distance learning. And now we're creating things that are, more accessible for everyone. It's really cool to see that change happen over just the short 10 years that I've been in the industry.
Yes, I agree, Donna. Thank you.